It's been all over the place.
We're a little all over the map this morning. Lots to talk about. We're going to start in the NBA with James Harden. Is he, can he, will he be traded to the Brooklyn Nets? Yesterday, we learned Harden turned down a 2-year, $103 million deal from the Rockets, reportedly telling them he wants to get to Brooklyn. Apparently, Brooklyn very much wants to get to Harden. Kevin O'Connor reporting the Nets are throwing the kitchen sink at Houston to make that happen. Nick, start with you. You starting to think Harden to the Nets is a real possibility here?
Not before the season, unless Kevin O'Connor is being literal, that there is an actual Stone-style kitchen sink that is being thrown at Raphael Stone. He's concussed and he trades Harden for 30 cents on the dollar. Aside from that, I would say no. Here are the most likely James Harden outcomes. I will rank them, and let's call this informed speculation. The most likely outcome is James Harden on December 22nd when the NBA season opens is a Houston Rocket. The second most likely outcome is that on December 22nd, James Harden is a Philadelphia 76er. The third most likely outcome is that James Harden is on what I would call a mystery team, meaning a team that has not yet announced itself in these sweepstakes, like such as, hey, Chicago Bulls, Kobe White, Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen for Harden. You interested in that? What about the Utah Jazz? Would they give up Donovan Mitchell for James Harden because Harden might be a better fit personality-wise and stylistically with Rudy Gobert? I would include the Celtics, but we know Danny Ainge doesn't actually try to compete for championships. He competes for offseason assets. But one of those teams. And then the fourth most likely outcome is that the Brooklyn Nets acquire James Harden for, as Wild's buddy Bill Simmons would call it, the poo-poo platter of Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, and some bad picks before the start of the season. So I do not think this is going to happen. And if it were to happen, Jenna, I think it would happen during the season if things go seriously awry in Houston.
Okay, so it's funny you mentioned that. Obviously, the Nets deal is far from a lock. There is another report saying the Rockets feel no pressure to trade Harden or Russell Westbrook at all. They're, quote, willing to get uncomfortable as the season begins. Brandon, you're a former player. Tell me something. Would it be a mistake for the Rockets to start the season with two unhappy players, with Harden and Westbrook having to go out there and play basketball? Is that a mistake for the Rockets to do that?
Well, it's not a mistake if they're really interested in getting uncomfortable. If Nick's #1 scenario plays out, it's going to be extremely uncomfortable. For that reason, if I'm them, I get it done. Listen, face your pain now instead of later. You're not going to win this deal.
It's good.
You guys did a great job. You brought in Harden, 8 years ago? You took a shot at this small ball thing. It didn't work out. Now it's time to move on. So as a player, if I'm Harden, I'm actually probably a little bit more angry this morning hearing that, because I'm going to wake up to this news, and the first thing I'm going to think about is, well, you let the general manager walk out. Well, you let the head coach go. So now me as a player, why are you holding on to me? Like, I was brought here to help turn this franchise around. I did that. Then we moved to, can we win a championship? We failed. It's okay. Not everybody gets it done. It's hard. So now it's time for them to peacefully break up, and it needs to happen before the season. They're not going to win this trade, whether it's today, tomorrow, or 3 months from now, Wilds.
So let me jump in real quick, Wilds, and then I'll toss to you. I understand the leverage Harden has as far as making it super uncomfortable, but I also think there is countered leverage to the fact that he doesn't have 1 year. He has 2 years left on his contract. I know it's being called 3, but the third's a player option, so rip that up. He has 2 years left on his contract, and it is difficult for players with 2 years left on a deal to force their way out, and it is almost impossible for them to force their way out to a specific place. Wilds, when Kyrie Irving forced his way out of Cleveland with 2 years left on that deal, he gave the Cavs a list of teams. And he got traded to a team that wasn't on that list, the Boston Celtics. So, and Kyrie had to play the card, reportedly, of I will have knee surgery and miss the year rather than play for you. Yep. I don't know, or I don't believe, have any reason to believe Harden would be willing to go that far, particularly Wilds, when they could trade him to a situation that is not as, you say what you want about Houston. I know James Harden a little bit. How do you think he would like the off-court experience of Houston compared to, say, Salt Lake City? So I do think there is some real leverage that James Harden, or that the Rockets have in this, even if Harden can make it a seemingly untenable situation, Wilds.
See, I like the idea of just getting uncomfortable, of just coming to the table and just putting it all out there and be like, you know what? Let's go to war. Let's have some hard truths. Because here are the hard truths about the Rockets. The Rockets were built around James Harden. His usage rate is out of control, and it's been for the last 5 years, top of the league every single year. So if you're talking about a team's failure, you're talking about the way that they play. And I would be like, listen, James, we've gotten to the playoffs. I don't know if it's the whole team's fault or if it's your fault, because you've consistently come up short every time we've had an elimination game. You're 16 for 64, and I'm not even mentioning as a team, we missed about 27 straight threes, and you did have the turnover record in an elimination game. Here's the other thing, and then I start to come with a little bit of the niceness. I'd be like, we've been playing the wrong way.
Cut back up. All
we've been doing is playing iso ball, and we've heard it from everybody. It was you and Russ, and before it was you and CP3. We got rid of CP3, all of a sudden, they're in the playoffs. So look, I'd say, James, here's the story. Here's what we're gonna do. Steven Silas, first of all, give me a shot. It's my first year being a head coach. Give me a shot. Here's what I do. Boom. How about we start rebounding the ball? Our opponent's got more rebounds than any other team in the league. We let them grab the ball. So A, we're gonna rebound. 2, we're gonna shoot some 2-pointers. I know it's crazy, but you know who shot a lot of 2-pointers? The Lakers. They seem to do okay. And 3, we're not gonna have the second fewest assists. We're gonna move the ball. And then we're gonna get into the playoffs, and you're gonna win us some playoff games. And that's why you should stay in Houston.
Not gonna happen.
Nick, I think that would work. I think that if Steven Silas laid out a real plan, that would work.
It all sounds good, Wilds. But as a player, when your mind is made up, it's time to go. That's going to be an uncomfortable situation. You got to think about the temperament of these two players. Harden, Nick, you talked about it yesterday. He's a little bit more reserved, a little bit more laid back. He has a lot of chill to him. And then Westbrook, he'll tell you how he feels. So those two players being in that locker room is going to make it uncomfortable for everyone. The janitor, the 12th guy on the bench, the 7th assistant coach. It's going to be uncomfortable. Move on.
Let me just ask you one quick question, though, Brandon, because Wilds brought up an important name in this. Steven Silas, the new head coach of the Rockets. He was with the Mavericks last year, by the way, helped build that offense that was, for a time being, the highest scoring in NBA history. And there are a lot of similarities to Luka and Harden's game, even though we don't talk about them like that. There are a lot of similarities there. And I know, whether he is or not, Harden thinks I'm far better than Luka, and look at what Luka did. If you're James Harden, if Steven Silas calls you and says, can I have 6 weeks? The trade deadline is not approaching. Can we have the short training camp and the month of January to see how this will work? Does that move you at all, Brandon? Because it is a new head coach, it is a new GM, so it is a new situation, at least somewhat.
Yeah, not at all, because you're looking at the personnel. You don't have the guys in that locker room to get it done. James Harden is trying to win a championship. So it doesn't matter what coach you bring in, with your general manager, if he's a new general manager or not. Do I have the guys next to me that's going to help me get it done? So no, it takes me back to the Jet situation, and you love to take this conversation to a whole